What is good? We're back. We got some week 9 moves to make for your pleasure. Now, we're starting to get into the spot where, I think everybody kind of starting to know what their team is. You might be taking some losses here or there because you're injured or bad luck or you played a fluky squad, but you're past the point of kind of knowing where you are and what you have for the most part. And, it's semi-early. Things can happen. You could still make the playoffs for sure, even if you're slightly under 500 right now, right? But we're starting to get to the point where you know a lot more about what the possibilities are, and you can be a little bit more honest about kind of where you're at. You've seen your team in a lot of different positions at this point, right? So next couple of weeks, we'll talk a little bit more about sort of the moves to make in regards to buying and selling, depending on where your team is at. And today we're going to kind of take a little bit more of a contender approach. And of course, if you're taking the contender approach, there has to be a counterpart willing to sell, which is usually going to be the guys who are in the bit more of a rebuilding phase. They're going to be the guys who are easier to pry these guys that we're talking about out from under them, right? Because if they feel like they're still good, why would they want to trade these players from you? So this is kind of what I'm saying. Pivotal point here, because you need a push and a pull. You need a partner to make this happen. And unless the other team's just so good and overconfident, they're not typically going to trade away some of these guys that we're talking about, right, Big Co?
Yeah, well said, because this morning I did the exact same thing you just illustrated. Was I was looking at one of my teams and I'm leading victory points in FFPC and probably going to get another 4 victory points this week, which means that's the most you can get in 1 week. And I'm going to extend my lead. And I looked at a team that's normally good, not so good this year. And I sent a trade offer. Exactly what you just said. I said, hey, let me try to get that Christian McCaffrey right quick, and I sent that trade out, and I don't exactly expect him to accept it. It wasn't the craziest over the top offer for Christian McCaffrey, but it's something. And just to get the ball rolling. And I'm just, cold call, no notes were made, no emails were sent to the group, nothing like that. I hadn't talked to this guy in a while and didn't even put a message with it. Just sent the trade, just kind of chip away at it, see what happens.
Yeah, I did the same on Sunday. Just a bad team, perennially a bad team. Just always been in the shit there. And he's got Justin Jefferson and not a whole lot else. So I sent him my whole draft this next year, and like guys who were Trey Tuckers and Marvin Mimses and just guys like that are playing pretty good right now. And just seeing if we could get a dialogue going, see if I could get Justin Jefferson from you. And I'd be willing to pay more, just seeing where we're at. But this is the time of year where we're at right now, just to see kind of where people are at. So. The first guy on the list on this is, unfortunately, he's on the list right now because we saw a bad injury yesterday with Cam Scatterbo. Now, if you're a buy low non-contender team, Scatterbo's probably somebody that you might go searching for right now. See if you can get somebody who was just lost Scatterbo. Maybe you could trade an older guy and pick up a Scatterbo for next year because you don't need him. But Tyrone Tracy is the inverse of that. He's the recipient of more fantasy points and more usage here. And we know he's a good player too. And they've turned to the run game a lot more here. And we saw it at the end of that game where Tracy was running the ball fairly well on the back half of that game. So big blow to the Giants as far as who they are and becoming and for future, but an opportunity for the Tracy owner to get some money back here because, we're maybe a little worried about Scatterbo, and a chance for maybe somebody who's trying to win a chip to put somebody in their RB2 or flex spot here.
That's right. You don't get many opportunities to buy that much volume for this potentially cheap, right? You might need 24 more hours or so. You might do another show about this in a day or two and get that updated trade data coming in after the Scatterbo injury. But, it's at this point in the season, like you're halfway through the season, you need some volume. And if you could be that team that's just stacked with running backs, but there's also contender in your league, and it might be you that just needs an RB2 or needs somebody that could be the RB3. If you're just like, I got a team where I got Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs, and that's it. But my team is solid, but I don't have an RB3. So Tyrone Tracy is somebody that I could look at trying to get cheap.
Yeah. I mean, talking about coming back tomorrow and look, this is maybe the first time I've ever done this where I clicked, and we're recording early on Monday, right? No live show today. I was sick. I didn't watch as much football as usual. So we decided against the live show, but we're here doing moves to make. And this is the first time I've ever seen the today trades be the full first page. Every single thing on the first page is a today trade with Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah.
Never seen that before. Right.
So the Tyrone Tracy action is hot and heavy.
Right. I just went to page 2. All today trades, dude. That's crazy.
So many. So Tyrone Tracy is heating up on sleeper trade action.
Right. And so, we're using Dynasty Daddy right now.
That's great. Give me a couple examples here.
Right. So a lot of seconds for Tracy, which I think on both ends, that's a good trade, right? I think if you somebody who's not going to win this year, you're rebuilding a little bit to get a 2 for Tracy. I think that's good money. And if you're somebody who's competing, you're a mid to low end 2. Sure, why not?
Yeah, well, we have a team in FFPC where we're not competing, and we just got Tyrone Tracy bump here, so we might do the same thing. Buy him in one league, sell him in another league. It's all contextual based on which team you're looking at of yours. If you're winning, you might need Tracy. If you're losing, it's a good time to sell. Yeah,
this one's Tracy and Scatabo for a first.
I don't mind it.
No, I like that a lot. If I could pull that off.
That's it comes back. Like if you're selling Tracy and Scatabo to a team who's trying to win a championship, a lot of times you're bolstering the team, but Scatabo is not going to help that guy win the championship this year. I would probably rather not give away the 112 for that guy. But if he's, if that dude's team is 4-4 right now, it could still go either way. He doesn't even necessarily have to, like if the dude's 8-0, might not want to give away. I might not want the 112, 111, 110 for Scatabo and Tracy, but who knows? Kind of depend on where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just stockpiling picks, though, you're a lot more likely to do that because you're like, all right, well, hey,
I already got 3, or I got 2, and give me another one to pile
3 2s, and this will be my 3rd first, and all of a sudden I got 6 first rounders. Yeah, sure.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so here's Tootin for Tracy.
Interesting. All right.
Here's Romeo Dubs for Tracy.
Yeah.
So there's 2 just straight up players. Dubs has been playing really well. They just got Christian Watson back. They should get Jaden Reed back here at some point in the coming weeks. Tootin hasn't necessarily been as much of a part of the game plan as maybe some people initially thought. Solid player, more of a, again, rebuilder. What could be next year if ET goes elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with kind of Romeo Dubs here for me. That would be like, I think Romeo Dubs is a great 2. And if I don't think he's going to be on the Packers next year, it wouldn't make that much sense to me. They have too many options and you just spent a 1st round pick on a receiver. So you're probably going to let Dubs walk. And I don't mind that. Again, if you're the Tracy owner, hey, this prospect of something for next year. And Romeo's still good this year, right? He's been solid. Still 6 targets last night, right? But here's Tracy for a 1st. That's pretty aggressive. Here's another Tracy for a 1st. That's pretty aggressive. Tracy and a 26 1st for Jacobs. Kendrick Bourne and a 2nd for Tracy. So a lot of 2s in there. Diggs for Tracy straight up.
If you are like a true contender, like I said, not the team I just described as like 4-4 and it could really go either way. I'm probably not necessarily trying to give my 2 for Tracy, but if you're 6-2, or even if you're 5-3 and you're just like, you have the best team, you got a couple of bad like unlucky losses, like you said in the first 2 minutes there when you started, you were basically talking if you had lost, but like, if you got some lucky wins too, right? So, but like, if you had the unlucky losses and you're 5-3, but you're better than the 6-1 team or 7-1 team, but that's fine. Like I can give my 2 next year for Tracy if I need some RB dip. Not if you got like 3 horses and he's probably not going to start for you anyway. Just ride it out. Maybe
maybe you circle back and pick up Tracy if you have an injury or something else, and he hasn't been moved yet, right? Maybe the price goes up a little bit, but.
Right. Well, same kind of the same kind of some of the same logic I use in the off season too. It's like, if we're in the middle of the season, if your trade deadline's not anywhere close, why not ride a couple more weeks out to see if the guy you're going to buy gets hurt? you know?
Yeah,
so like,
certainly.
You know, because like if I like the team I was just talking about where I got 2 running backs and I could use Tracy, like I'm not trying to get my 2 for Tracy today because he's not in my starting lineup anyway. And yes, you're right. 2 weeks from now, Tracy might be more expensive, but 2 weeks from now, Tracy could be hurt too, and then not doing me any good. And I don't have my second round draft pick.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a proponent of trade deadlines. I think it hurts when you take a step back and stop being so, as long as your league's in a bunch of shithades, typically I feel like it benefits everybody to be able to trade whenever you want. Like I said, as long as everybody isn't a bunch of jerks about what they're doing and how they're doing it, it's beneficial to both sides, right?
Yeah, I can see the argument once you get deep into once you get into the actual fantasy playoffs, I can see the arguments for like if you're sitting there in the championship game and somebody's making monster trades over here, buying players, trading draft picks. Yeah, I could do the same, but I can see the aggravation on both sides. I've done it. I've traded and traded away. I've been in, Yeah, what happened last year? If you want to buy a championship,
I'm kind of okay with it, but it helps I almost think it helps the bottom end of the league more than the top end of the league. Like
I completely agree. The problem is what really, and I've never said any of this stuff before, but like the problem is last year, you and I, we had a team and we beat a team with Jahmyr Gibbs, who scored 40 a game last year down the stretch because David Montgomery was hurt. We beat Jahmyr Gibbs' team, and then a team we had to play the next week goes and trades for Jahmyr Gibbs. So like that was the part where like, hey, I'm like, obviously there's nothing we can do about it now, but that just seems like once I beat you in the playoffs, I don't think I should have to play you again. Right.
Yeah.
That didn't seem cool. That just put a really bad taste. There's something about that. Like if you were going to go buy somebody out of the losers bracket, fine. But if I beat you in the semifinals and then you get traded and I'm playing against you in the championship, which is exactly what happened, and we got beat, our team it didn't matter. Our team laid to bed that week.
No, we were limping around in there anyway for the most part.
We got Mike Evans and Baker Mayfielded that stack was against us too. And he, Mike Evans might have had like 3 touchdowns or Baker had 5 or something. It didn't matter. But before the game started, I had a really bad taste in my mouth about it.
Typically, in a lot of, especially our older leagues, it's you can trade up to the playoffs, and then playoff teams can trade with each other, and the other guys can trade with each other. But competitive teams and non-competitive teams have to stop trading with each other. But anyway, all right, let's keep it moving here. Michael Pittman's going to be the next guy on the sheet here. Perennially left for dead. And every draft we did, me and Big Co were giving Michael Pittman hey, if you're going to give me Michael Pittman, it went from like the 8th to the 9th to the 10th to the 11th round Michael Pittman. If you're going to give me this late Michael Pittman, let's not pretend that he wasn't playing injured and their quarterback. And now it was a bit of a swing because there were a lot of things up in the air, but it has since very, very much worked out. He's averaging, 15.7 points a game currently. Now they haven't had their bye week yet, so he's 11th in points per game, right? But he's got 6 TDs, which Michael Pittman could never score TDs, right? That was always the dumb argument people make of, all right, well, it's such a silly argument. Number one. Number two, he just, he was just mid. He wasn't an alpha, and maybe he is mid and just an alpha, but he's always been a pretty volume dominant. He's their number one, right? Yeah. And they paid him to stick around.
And he's acting like it too.
And he's acting like it this year, right? And so he hasn't really let you down in very many games. He's been rock solid. And I'm sure that there are plenty of people. Now, this is a new look Colts, so maybe there's not as many people willing to get off the Pittman wagon as there would have been of saying, hey, this is kind of a one-off. So it might be a little tougher, but I have to, he's not young, but not old. He's kind of right in that range of where probably some attainability.
I agree. I think for the consistent quality volume that he's getting and going to get the rest of the season, barring an injury from him or the quarterback, I don't think you could probably get that much quality volume for any better price. I really don't. Even like the Waddle and the Olave's top 3 in targets, but they've shifted quarterbacks around and this and that. Like the quality volume part of that, and I think Olave would be more expensive, and then Waddle be more expensive, and then it's hit or miss whether or not Tua had an eye problem or something going into the game. Said his eye was swole shut. Like He needs to do that again next week. He needs to like put a patch on or something and just come out one-eyed Tua, because that was the best he's looked in a while. And I think, I just think for Pittman, just if you got some trades here to go over, I just feel like he was left for dead by so many people. And your great point about the bandwagon Colts fans that could jump on this year and be like, all right, no, this is awesome. Steichen, coach of the year, blah, blah, blah. Jonathan Taylor, MVP, Daniel Jones, comeback player, blah, all this stuff. So like, I get it. He's probably more expensive than we might be thinking right this second, but still, I think probably a bargain for contenders trying to fill out wide receiver 2 or a flex spot,
Well, when we're making this list kind of pre-show a little bit, and we're at a bit of a weird time where I wouldn't be pressing the full gas throttle to try to trade, because there is some injuries that could still happen. But like, I'm definitely interested, and there's definitely a good part of the season to start kind of doing so. How much of a stain is still on Michael Pittman, and where is the value going to lie? And that's kind of the point of the show on Mondays here during the Dynasty season, is just to kind of get an idea of where it is. And it's a great market still. Like, it's not super like, oh my, there hasn't been a giant rebound where all of a sudden Pittman's, you gotta trade a first and a second and something else to get Michael Pittman, right?
And to think that his age is still, like you said, in a good. It's not like you're trading for Terry McLaurin here, where he's over or Keenan Allen. Like if Keenan Allen was getting quality volume, something I'll touch on in just a few minutes. But like Pittman is out there. He's getting targets in the red zone. They're drawing up nice little play. If they're on the 5-yard line, he got like you said, he's got 6 touchdowns. At least I've seen 2 of them that were from like the 4,
Sure.
Like not just, he had to break. It wasn't just like blown coverage, accidental touchdown. Like that was their play. And given the fact that they have Jonathan Taylor running in touchdowns all over the place, and Tyler Warren's a stud, like, Pittman is not forgotten. Josh Downs is a beast who cannot get, like Pittman.
I mean, they're scoring points at a good clip. It shouldn't be necessarily going anywhere. Defense is playing well. Like, Pierce is good, and when Downs is out there playing, he can make plays. And every facet that Warren is outstanding, right? So everything they have is really working.
Well, I've been watching a lot of Colts, and I got Daniel Jones on a couple teams, and I got Jonathan Taylor on a couple teams, and I've been watching a lot of Colts, and just like 11 is always in the screen.
Mm-hmm.
He's just the consistency level of his targets and the quality of those targets, and it just obviously they're humming. We talked about that last week, and everybody's talking about the Colts humming. But Pittman, you got some trades for us?
Yeah, and when we were making this we can't, wide receiver play isn't at some insane level right now where there's so many guys that you want to be going after right now, where you're like, oh my God, I got to get these guys. And I feel comfortable rest of season, right? There's guys that you could swing on and it could be awesome.
Yeah.
But Pittman, it just feels rock solid. So
yeah, there's a lot of coin flips out of there. And like you said, rather than going and paying and spending some equity, I might as well just put that other coin flip dart throw that's on my bench in the lineup, but yeah.
If I can go trade my next 2 drafts for JSN, but sure, I guess, if I can go get those kind of guys, yeah, that'd be awesome. But that's a lot of mortgaged future and hard to obtain. Whereas Michael Pittman right here, the first trade on that I see here is Michael Pittman for a 2. I mean,
easy.
Absolutely.
Easy.
This is Spencer Rattler. These are all today trades too. Spencer Rattler for Michael Pittman. Let's see here. Harold Fanning and Jared Goff, 2 quarterback, no premium
I got
for Pittman in a 3rd.
No way. Golf and Fanning for that one. But I would give you Spencer Rattler in a 2 for Michael Pittman.
No, absolutely.
I'd put those first 2 trades together. I'd put those together for Pittman.
Yeah, and here Spears a 26-2 and a 28-2 for Pittman. And that's a good rebuilder trade, right? You got a fun player in Spears. And then you have the 26 and the 28, right? So that's a fun rebuilder trade. Here's Pittman and Wandell for AJ Brown. I could
give that for Pittman if I felt I could give that for Pittman if my starting lineup needed Pittman, which I don't have many starting lineups that don't need Pittman at this 15 points per game average. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Yeah, Pittman and Wandale for AJ Brown.
Okay.
I don't mind that on the AJ side, honestly. But
yeah,
I mean, Pittman's tough to get out of your lineup right now. He's way more consistent than AJ Brown is.
Absolutely. I'd much rather start. If I had to just pick one to start rest of the year and not be able to flip flop back and forth, I'm starting Pittman.
Yeah. Here's a 28 first for Pittman. So that's 2 years down the line. That to me, that's basically a second.
Yeah.
I don't like to trade that far out, but I worry about that next year and figure out how to get that first back. Here's a 26 first for Pittman. Again, contender wise, when you're looking at this receiver list and you're looking at the guys who has a chance to be more consistent for the rest of the year and still hold good value moving into next year with what we're seeing out of the Colts than Michael Pittman. So that I'll give you my 26 first next year.
Yeah, I don't. That's a hard one for me, but it's hard. It's hard to argue against it on his production, and he's not anywhere close to leading the league in catches. He's not anywhere close to leading the league in yards, but those touchdowns are not exactly as fluky as a lot of people would probably make it out to be. The touchdowns
he's top 10 in receptions.
Yeah, I mean, he's right there. Like you said, it's just he's not far from top 5. He's not far from top 5 in yards. If I sort right there, I mean, he's just he's 24th in yards, but he's only 40 yards from top 10. So I get it. The production is there. I don't like trading my first, man. I'd like to get it done another way. I feel like that's probably my max right there. I don't think I want to give away my first for Pittman. I've got to figure out how to get it done elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm fine. He's not dead next year. Here's a 27 first for it. I'm fine with that too. Jaden Reed in the 4th. Yeah.
Easy.
Another 26 first, a second and a third, a second. So I'd much rather give you 2 and a 3 or. Well, of course, I'd rather do that. But
there's a lot of those trades out there. I just say, hey, I got to have first for Pittman. Okay, we'll find somebody. Just like you said, you got to have a partner, and push and pull is the exact way to describe it. So, go find another player. Go find another buyer in this league to give you a first for Pittman. There might not be one.
Right.
The other guy might not have his first round pick. So if I'm the only guy that would give you a first for Pittman, I still want to dance around that until I could try to give you something other than my first. And some of those parts could quote unquote be worth more than a first, but that first is just, it's the driver in every trade, man.
Yeah, I think in any trade, I'm obviously not necessarily trying to give up the most I have to give and my first, but in the situation of what he can give me to versus what's out there and what I could get for that bottom end, because like you said, I'm probably not trading my first for Pittman if I'm whatever 3 and 5 right now, right? So Pittman for Swift, full point PPR.
Pittman, I can do that.
So that's basically all that's day trades with that. Not a full screen and another screen for the Pittmans.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's go Derrick Henry in this one, who has been a classic contender trade. And I've
3-4 years now.
I've traded for Henry. I traded my first week 12 last year for Henry and helped win a championship for sure. And he's been hit or miss this year for sure. The Ravens have been pretty bad, and I don't know if we'll see Lamar even in this next week, but we've got then hopefully the week after that we would see Lamar Jackson because they play on Thursday this coming week. But it is a good matchup for Henry. It's the Dolphins, even though the Falcons did not run Bijan like they should have in this last one. So Derrick Henry here is an option for a potential buy low rebuilder. I don't know if he's necessarily going to cost you a first right now at this point. I don't know that I'd be willing to pay you a first at this point for Derrick Henry.
No, I'm definitely not trying to get my first. I bought Derrick Henry last year in a trade that I ended up winning a championship. It was a monster trade. I got Derrick Henry and St. Brown in a 3 wide receiver league, but I gave up a ton, paid off. And top team in the league this year, and I just lost Neighbors a couple weeks ago, so hopefully we can stay top team. But you got to give me some trades that I don't give up my first to get Henry, man. I do think he's not dead next year. Like Derrick Henry can play right this minute. I don't want to be. He can play as long as he wants to, but like there's nothing that shows you right now on the screen watching that man, or in the way he talks about, there's nothing that says he's done after this year. Or, I mean, so
it's really only an injury that would be like, all right. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be and I don't even know that it has to be a catastrophic injury. He's just older at this point. Mm-hmm. So like, if it doesn't have to be what just happened to Scatabo bad, right? It just an injury happens and you're like, all right, well, this is just a tough hill to climb. If he stays healthy through the season and comes into next season healthy, it probably still could have a productive season.
Yeah, I just they showed it last night or yesterday. He's like 20 touchdowns from top 5 ever or something like that. Yeah. He's right behind Adrian Peterson, and this, just chasing some monster milestones. Is just he's on the short list of production from running backs, and there's some really cool milestones for him ahead if he can stick it out for another year or so. Yeah. So I'm still comfortable buying Derrick Henry in Dynasty, but I just, again, I don't want to give up my first. I guess if I'm, if I got Jonathan Taylor and Puka and Trey McBride and a couple of quarterbacks, you know what I mean? Like if I'm insulated with some really good players around him and like, even if I traded for him and he got hurt, I'm still like a top team kind of thing. Like, I guess I could give you, like the team, if I was the best team in the league and I got a starter or two on my bench in every position, I got a third quarterback and I got a fourth wide receiver, et cetera. Like if I just got that really good team, I could probably give you my 110, 111, 112. Like if I'm guaranteed to be, it would be a fluke if I lost, if I the bye week team. Like if I'm going to be in the conference fight, I'm going to be in the semis no matter what, because I'm about to get a bye week, I guess then I could probably give up that'd be the only way that I'm trying to give up my first for Derrick Henry. Not like I'm trying to make the playoffs and I should make the playoffs, but Casey's team's a monster and then Chev's team's a monster. You know what I mean? Like if there's just other monster teams, if I am the monster team, then I could give up my first for him if I had to. I did. That's what I did with that team last year. I don't think I'd be willing to do the same this year per se, but it's just the Ravens are just not in a great spot right now either. You do have that potential shutdown situation for them if they got the unlucky loss a week or, if they lose one or two more, what do they have other than Derrick Henry being like, no, put me out there because I want to get 10 more touchdowns and catch Peterson or whatever,
Yeah, there's 3 firsts on the screen today for Henry. Through just a straight up first for Henry in 26. So, we just talked about how neither one of us super duper comfortable with that. Here is Alvin Kamara and 2 2s for Derrick Henry.
Easy
for you?
Easy. Yeah. Let me give you an example of why everything I just said, if I'm the bully team, if I'm the monster team, I'll give you my first next year for Derrick Henry. I don't want to give you my 2027 first. Because I'm halfway through this year, and if I'm the bully team, I'm halfway through this year and may have gotten really lucky so far with injuries. But, in our East and Superflex League, I could show you a monster list of injuries and problems for a team. Like I crushed those playoffs last year. And as soon as I got a couple people right and got my lineup set right, I was rolling. I don't really have much behind my quarterback, but I got a pretty solid team. And right now I got a bunch of guys hurt, a bunch of guys, so like if that was last year's team and I bought Derrick Henry, all of a sudden, right. You get 2 or 3 guys that are hurt that you were counting on the number 1 quarterback point scorer in the league, Neighbors goes down, et cetera, et cetera. You get a couple guys here or there. And then Alvin Kamara isn't doing, he's half the production what we're used to him. There's no reason he's not getting, 8 catches a game. It's check down trying to help that team move the chains and he's not getting it, blah, blah, blah. So just even if you're the bully team, I'm trying to keep that, hey, this year I'm 7-1, I'm 6-2, and all my guys are hurt. I mean, good, not hurt yet. all right, I'll give you that first for Derrick Henry. I don't want to be playing with 2027 first for Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
If it's somebody better, obviously I'll give you both first round picks for Jonathan Taylor. That, but like if we're talking about the old Derrick Henry, I want him to help my healthy team this year versus giving away my draft pick next year when next year's team, I don't know,
Right. Yeah.
Injury bug might get me next year, and it hasn't gotten me this year.
It's a good, we've talked about it a few times over the offseason. It's, when you're an orphan or a rebuilder, it's also a good way to, on the inverse of that, is to look at it as, I can't get anything. Nobody wants to trade me the first this year. So I go look at the older top heavy team that feels really confident about themselves now. And I try to kick that pick down the line. And it doesn't help me out in this coming draft or maybe even the next year's draft. But in a year or two, that first round pick might go from 9, 10, 11, 12 to 4, 5, 6, 7. Right.
Yeah. So you see that team is really good with like Mike Evans and Keenan Allen and those kind of guys. And, yes, you get a pick from them 2 years from now. That's much better. That, on paper, it's going to be a much better pick. And
they're not, they don't care about it right now.
Put those blinders on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Derrick Henry and a 3 for Scatabo. Here's Henry for Scatabo straight up.
Yeah, I could take Henry.
Those are guys reeling from a Scatabo injury.
Let me, do you think, I don't know, Scatabo would be like the one guy, Derrick Henry too, like, cause he's so big and heavy. Like Scatabo seems like the one guy that we might, like, this is just a potentially, but 12 hours ago it happened. I don't know anything about this injury, but it's maybe just a broken bone, heal him up. He's supposed to be fine. But as a running back, like, is there, in the way he plays, it ain't like he kills you with speed and agility. Yeah. He's got it now. And that, you saw, dude's one of the hardest tackles in the league, even though he's, he's shaped like a barn, shaped like he could, keep the rain off of freaking moo cow. He's massive, but like he's got the agility, but like he just, first glance, macro, does that, you scared of a little bit of decreased production when he's quote unquote healthy from something like this? And I know you're not a doctor. I'm just saying, like, that's in the back of my mind. I'm like, maybe long-term Scatabo is not as much fun as it was. Is versus somebody, like Jahmyr Gibbs gets the same injury. I just feel like he's just got so much more to give. You know what I mean? As far as he got so much more to lose. Yeah. Does that make sense?
I think you need to. I live with sort of a doctor here, so I could ask her more about it. But I think I don't know enough about it. There's some stuff coming out now.
Obviously,
he had surgery last night. But no, that was the first thing that crossed my mind. Is like, it looked like it was kind of more along the lines of like a Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard sort of injury. Mm-hmm. And we saw it took a good year plus for those guys to come back and be where they were. And
I would say that Dak never looked the same.
Yeah. And then he came right back and had another injury. It just, and, Pacheco's dealing with that sort of, and I don't know if it's exactly the same and what levels of things were and yada, yada, yada. But no, that's certainly one of the first things that crossed my mind is like, he's not somebody who so maybe that's a good thing that you don't rely on that. So you don't necessarily need, you didn't lose much. But also then the negative is, well, he couldn't afford to lose much. So if he loses anything, is he now just a big,
well, like Aiden Hutchinson seems like nothing ever happened.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was, I was very worried about that. I was like, dude, do we have to come back so fast? What are we doing? Just but he's seems to be more than fine. So yeah.
Yeah. So here's Derrick Henry and Woody Marks for a 2, Derrick Henry for Woody Marks and a 2.
Yeah, I mean, I could take on Derrick Henry to try to help me win a championship, but at the same time, Woody Marks looked real good yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, bad. Niners are just in a bad. They went from a spot where it was like, oh, let's win this for Fred to, oh, this is tough. Plus, D'Amico kind of knowing Shanahan pretty well. Mm-hmm. But I think Woody needs to continue to be the check down outlet for them and the explosive guy. I like Woody kind of moving forward, but that's a tougher one for me. I also have a soft spot for Woody Marks there. So I don't know. Tony Pollard at a 2 for Henry. I would as a 27 too. So I don't mind doing that.
Henry.
So yeah, but a lot of Derrick Henry trades on this page, full page of Derrick Henry trades today. So that's Henry's hot in them streets. So I think a lot of people he came back off the bye, had another good game. Let's see if we can move him.
The opposite, and people being like, just exactly like hey, we're halfway here. Might have lost Scatabo, might have this, might have that. Let me go buy me a running back.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's stay in the running back realm here. And Dallas has struck gold with Javonte. Bad showing yesterday for Dallas all around. Denver was, I don't know if they quite answered questions for everybody just yet, but it was a fairly dominant performance. They stayed with a good 10-point window for a good portion of that game. But Javonte is future unclear, but for Dallas for the rest of the season, should continue to do what he's been doing, right? And just be a solid player week in, week out for you. So he's somebody you'd be interested in, even though future unclear, from a contender standpoint, that you'd be trying to purchase.
Yeah, and I think you saw yesterday just the 2 short yard touchdowns, right? I mean, that's what you're buying. You're not buying somebody that you can count on for 95 yards. Like, you can't, there's not many running backs in the league you can count on for 95 yards. But I know he was second in the league in rushing.
He's damn near the closest you might be able to get right now for that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think with CeeDee Lamb coming back, and obviously you don't play against the Broncos defense every week, but yeah, between CeeDee Lamb and Pickens out there keeping the defense honest, he's probably gets fairly decent open running lanes, right? That's the last. He's one of the only running backs, one of the lower end running backs in the league where like that's the last thing the defense is worried about as far as like Dak throwing it to CeeDee and Pickens. I just felt like at this point he's just as good as bad as any running back in the league to get a short yardage touchdown, and we got 2 yesterday, and it's like that's just his bankable short yardage back. They put in Blue a couple times and he was out there having, not looking bad. He could looking a little spry, but like then you get on the 1st and goal and here comes Javonte, right? And he's got enough power, and even when he just gets it in the end zone. So that's just one of those things where like I just feel like it's I feel a lot better about Derrick Henry next year than Javonte Williams, because I don't know where he's going to. He seems like he's easily disrespectable. Even go ahead. You the opposite. I feel like
I feel very good about Javonte Williams next year.
I feel better about Derrick Henry next year than Javonte Williams. I mean, obviously, if things broke right for Javonte Williams, I don't think there's a whole lot of chance Derrick Henry's playing in the league 4 years from now, and Javonte Williams could certainly be. I would just take the next 2 years of Derrick Henry over Javonte pretty easily, without knowing. Now, I said, if Jerry Jones wants to roll it back and just give him, an extension that would be quote unquote cheap, but slash for somebody in Javante's shoes now versus where he was a couple months ago and basically left for dead by the NFL, he might be happy to have $5 million.
I mean, even if it's 8, that's still fine.
For what, you know what I mean? So like if he rolls it back with Dallas next year in a fantastic situation, I don't want to play. Dallas drafts a high-end running back, and I'm not saying Javonte Williams is going to be on Dallas next year. I don't know. I think you can bank on his production this year.
Well,
pretty much.
I think this is why he can make the list here, is because there's plenty of, just like Pittman, there's plenty of people who will be saying a lot of yeah buts and a one-off and yada yada yada, and he's not going to do this again next year. And he's been excellent, so yeah, he probably won't do exactly this next year. But again, if Dallas rewards him and they stay in there, and look, Dallas, they don't seem all that interested in investing highly in a running back anymore. This seems like the game Dallas wants to play. And so if they can get Javonte to agree to a semi-team friendly, $6, $8, $9 million a year with some incentives contract and Blues back there, that's probably what they wouldn't mind doing, right? But I think there's going to be plenty of people out there who are like, yeah, let me just get rid of Javonte right now, because they feel, I don't know if you're necessarily quite saying that, but maybe semi-similar to you, where there's a lot more stain and people don't believe it. I'm fine with it because I can pinpoint why he might have, he just didn't like all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm good. Like, no, he was pretty good. he got injured. I feel like it really took a while to kind of fully come back. And now we're seeing a Javonte that we'd seen before. So I'm much less, on the fence of whether or not this is, I'm not, is this the real Slim Shady or not? I think this is the Javonte we should expect. Now, does he get as much run if he goes somewhere else as he's getting now? I don't know, but why else, if you're him, why are you going anywhere else where you wouldn't get that? If not, I'll just stay in Dallas for cheaper. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm Javonte Williams, I'm probably taking whoever gives me the most money.
You're right. And if somebody's giving you that much money, you're probably getting the rock.
Because of, like you said, because I would say he looked even better than what you just, like before his injury, I think he looked better than what you just kind of described. And yes, we know, that was a 2-year resurrection situation for him. And a lot of times I put myself in, hey, once you're making millions, plural, why not go to a team that's got a chance to win and have fun with it? Putting myself into a running back shoes where they don't get paid a lot, proportionally. And the injury he had to take on and the being left for dead by the league, I'm probably going to the best paycheck I can get if I'm Javonte Williams,
right.
If I've already made millions and millions of dollars and somebody wants to give me $7 million over here and $6 million over there, and this guy's a contender, I'm going $6 million. That would just be me. I would take $1 million less to go to be the backup for the Lions versus be, the starter for whatever team's bad next year,
Right. Or, hey, I'll take $7 million from the Chiefs, instead of 8.5 from Tennessee,
Exactly. I'll pay the Chiefs to let me be on the team.
No, it's not my $1.5 million to leave on the table, I mean,
I'll cut you a check for if I got to go be on the Titans. How much do I got to pay you to let me wear a Chiefs helmet on Sundays?
Yeah. So here's a 27 first, just straight up for Javonte. That's
what?
That's the 27 first, straight up for Javonte. Half point PPR.
Sold.
Yeah. 26 second. I'll take Javonte.
I could, yes. If I think I can win, I can give you a 2 for Javonte.
So here's a 27 first, second.
3 picks for what?
For Javonte.
Picks. Anything that's got a first in it, I'm taking it over Javonte right now.
Okay. That 27 first is, we kind of talked in length about how to manage that and where you are and those kind of things. Like if I'm a younger team and just coming up, I would be okay with trading that 27 first away. But if I've been the juggernaut and bully for a while and I'm older, no. Here's Scatabo for Woody Marks and Javonte Williams. I don't mind that Woody Marks Javonte side.
Yeah, I don't mind getting that and then trying to,
especially if I'm the competitor side,
Of course.
Right. Here's a 2 for Javonte. Here's a 1 in Scatabo for Javonte.
Yeah, I want the first in Scatabo for sure.
Here is Oronde Gadsden, Javonte Williams, a 26 second for 2 firsts, half point tight end premium.
Probably the 2 1s, but I mean, Gadsden has got to be talked about.
Some guy hit us up on Twitter and he said, which I hadn't responded to because I was really sick yesterday, and let me read it to you. So I'll give you some airtime here, bud. Let's see here. We got it from a lot of everyday dad. He said, let's revisit the trade that you guys had saying was aggressive and explaining draft picks like I am some dynasty newbie. If this man is putting up Bowers and McBride numbers in 1.5 tight end premium, give me this all day. When all the other receivers only get 0.5. So, he gets an extra point, basically, he's saying, for all of his. And it must have been a Dynasty Daddy trade where we were like 2 firsts for Gadsden last week. And we're like, ooh, that seems pretty aggressive. So, he's saying it's basically full point premium because it was half point PPR, right? And he was like, buddy, I wasn't calling you a dynasty newbie. It's just as a really aggressive trade to go. And I'm glad that he came back on Thursday and said, and I'm glad Gadsden came back on Thursday and came back and did that. But trading 2 firsts for a player that has had 2 or 3 good games is still aggressive in my book. Like that's all.
I remember that now.
Like it. I'm fine with it. That's cool, man. I'm glad that that's working out for you. Let's revisit it in the offseason and see where Gadsden's value falls. That's really kind of what would kind of settle that out a little bit for me. And if Gadsden would have came back and had 2 catches for 30 yards this week, you wouldn't have said shit. And so that's kind of how this works. And I'm glad you listen. I'm glad you're hollering at me. That's cool. Hey,
keep hollering.
Keep hollering.
The draft talk. I guess I remember that now because I took a second to explain what full point premium draft picks mean. And we're not talking to you specifically like you're a noob there, guy. Don't take that personally. Yeah. We're talking to the thousands of people that listen to this. And if so, yes. All right. So instead of it being 2 point for a catch for a tight end, it's 1.5 and everybody else is on half PPR, wide receivers and running backs.
Yeah.
That all I heard was 1 point tight end premium, which I went straight from PPR to 2 point. Same thing. And maybe even a little better for the tight ends because everybody else is down to a half. But the idea is still the same. Is what I was trying to explain is those draft picks are more valuable than your normal draft pick because your tight ends are getting elevated. And Superflex, we all know that first round draft pick for Superflex is more valuable than a 1 quarterback draft pick because the quarterbacks get pushed up and the position players get pushed down, et cetera, et cetera. So I wasn't trying to say whoever made that pick, let me school you on these draft pick values. It was like all the people that listen to this, let me get some context on draft pick values. And yes, I mean, Aronde Gadsden, Woody Marks, does it show me one talking head that's ran hotter and from a rookie offseason standpoint than Casey this year, helping guys find the dynasty values. Yeah, we weren't too running hot in the first round. You know, we did.
Outside of Caleb Johnson, where do we?
My boy RJ Harvey just showed up.
Oh,
right?
well,
let's not pretend like.
Yeah, but that wasn't way off the consensus. That's the difference there. You can argue all you want.
I was above consistent faster. I jumped on as soon as Sean Payton turned in the card. I was like, that's my guy.
Yeah, and we showed you could say Cam Ward too, but I mean, with quarterbacks, I'm okay with giving it a minute. I still think Cam Ward's very good.
Just saying, like the Rondé Gadsden, like last week, he was a big talk of the show, obviously, and he was everybody's talk. He's a love.
And he came back and had another great week.
I went back as soon as you said Kincaid or Gadsden last week, and I said probably Kincaid. And as soon as we got done with the show, I'm talking to myself. I was like, I think that was wrong. I think that was Gadsden. So that was the first game I watched last week, and on Monday after the Tuesday game. So I would go back and watch. First game I watched by itself individually was the Chargers game, and I was like, yeah. Gadsden's everything we want Kincaid to be, right? It's even with
and Kincaid was kind of Gadsden though his rookie year. That's kind of how this can be though, right? And
not as physically fluid.
No, because he's of course, but I'm just saying like that's the juxtaposition of how quickly this can flip on its head. We thought Sam Laporta is kind of same way, right? And so that's kind of how this works. Perfect. And it's has nothing to do with I think Aronde Gadsden's great. I got Aronde Gadsden. I love Aronde Gadsden. It still doesn't that could be an awesome trade for a year and then not so great for another year. You know,
you're right.
Who's to say to come clap back that quick is kind of aggressive in my opinion. But hey, I like it. I'm for it. Come on.
For sure. But you're right. Like the Sam Laporta, the second year fall off. Kincaid, first year, all we heard was he caught 77 passes, and next year he was supposed to catch 100. Remember that? You know, right. So
we didn't hear it. We said it. You know,
for sure. Well, exactly. I watching that game solely concentrating on Gadsden. Like he's better physically. He's more physically gifted than I've realized. You know, there's so many games. I didn't like zero in on him. Of course, you see the highlights and stuff, but just being like, all right, watch that. Oh, what happened? Rewind that play and watch that same play like 4 times in a row. And you're like, golly, he really is as gifted as you were trying to tell us all off season. So I would take Gadsden over Kincaid right now. So I regretted saying that as soon as the show was over last week. But what happened was, and this is what I said last week, it was just ahead of schedule. Like Kincaid, Johnston, the wide receiver, had a really solid under the radar year last year. We saw the drops on the island games, and it just painted a horrible negative picture. But he had for somebody that was supposed to be dead, he had a really solid year. And then we obviously know the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, Quentin Johnston was a stud. They got Ladd McConkey. He was quiet the first couple weeks of the season. He's been a stud. Showed us the stud that he is the last couple weeks. And Keenan Allen he shows up when they need a big third down catch. But to say that Oronde Gadsden should be
Trey Harris, who's a rookie, who's coming along. So like, even when you lose one, there should be, I think he's coming right in to be good.
To say that Gadsden's production is bankable is kind of crazy, but when you look at how good he is
for sure there.
It so pops off the screen. It's like, it's crazy for them not to throw him the ball. But, we made that point. They were down by 1 million and he had they threw it 55 times last week. This week, not the same. But he got in the end zone, looked good doing it. Caught a couple balls early, looked good doing it. So like rest of the season, dynasty value, I'm right there with you. Of course, I didn't jump up there as quickly as I should have. I've pride myself on being able to watch a player and react quickly. I didn't watch him like I should have. And yeah, he's an absolute stud. And like you said, that trade that the guy's talking to us on Twitter about, thanks for talking to us, first of all. And, if he turns out to be if he turns out to be long-term, Darren Waller's a name that's getting thrown around with him right now. If he turns out to be long-term healthy Darren Waller, then it's worth every penny you paid.
Yeah, it's just, for me, that's a I think that's could be an awesome trade on your part. It's ballsy to go up there and go
away ballsy.
And have to
like,
you had mentioned, like, how am I going to get around trading this one first for me? It's like, that trade to me is perfectly like, how can I do anything but give away this second first to get Oronde Gadsden here? Like,
exactly.
When we were watching the game and in 1 point tight end premium, yes, of course the value is completely elevated. When I was watching that Thursday night game, I texted in our group text, hey, Oronde Gadsden is officially, after he caught a couple of balls, is officially now worth a first, I think, regardless.
That was
around
in the first quarter.
Right, in the first quarter.
You texted that in the first quarter. Yeah.
Right. And so in premium, yeah, hey man, I get it. I like it. It's ballsy, but to like the quickness of the clapback is like, what was a bit much, but I like it. I respect it. It could be awesome. This is the fun thing about Dynasty, is that a trade that looks great now could look terrible in the future, and vice versa, which is why when people get so up in arms about what we talk about in the trades and no way and this and that, and it's, a lot of the times it'll go from dumb right to wrong to dumb to right to wrong. And that's kind of how this works. And so for all the people listening out there to get up in arms about certain things and like, we're wrong plenty and we get it right plenty. Like, I was already on Oronde Gadsden, so you don't have to get on if you've already been on, right? And so hopefully you guys out there listening were on, me and Chev tried to mention him as many times as we could. And the same thing with Woody Marks. And so that's great. And that's what I try to do on this show, what I think the biggest thing going right now is that, and we're way off topic and we're going to end the show after this. Actually, I got one more thing I want to ask you about. Is how many edges are left in Dynasty, right? Not many. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's got all the values dialed, and it takes two to tango. So people have different values on different positions, different guys, and they wax and wane on those. But where the edges to me lie are the late round picks, right? And you could just say, well, just draft running backs because statistically that's what's going to hit the most, and don't draft these other positions. I think that that's the most bogus thing fucking going. I think that's lazy. I think you don't want to put in the work. And I think year after year, we've hit on running backs, we've hit on receivers and some tight ends here and there. And this year it seems like we're going to hit Woody and we're going to hit Gadsden for this year. And you can make money off them now or you can save them for later, right? But to me, the first round, the consensus kind of evens out. And hey, wasn't as high on Scatabo as some other guys. Some people are telling us, hey, he's got to be the first round guy. Hey, you were right, man. The way that played out, I was right for the first couple of weeks. You've been right since then. And now he's hurt and we'll see, right? And so it's the first round is going to. I was right on Travis Hunter for the first couple of weeks. He looks great. I'd buy the shit out of Travis Hunter, and I've been saying the same thing. Like, hey, probably year 2, I'm going to be buying Travis Hunter because the talent's good. So the first round consensus is whatever, and even bleeding into the second round, like everybody kind of is around the same. The margins come in on those back ends, and the other guys who are analytic guys, which is a lot of this space at this point, are going to be all percentage based. And I get it. You're not going to ever grow broke making a nickel or a buck or however you want to say it. And so you could certainly play that way. But I've seen team after team after team get turned around with players like Puka in one season. Mm-hmm. One season. And everybody can't hit on those guys, but that's what we're trying to put the work in to hit on those guys, right? And it's not every 5th round wide receiver. There's a group of 5th round wide receivers. It was Torrey Horton for us this year every time we could. And in his opportunities, he's looked good. Is it awesome? No. It was Jalen McMillan last year. If Jalen McMillan didn't get a neck injury, Jalen McMillan's stock would be absolutely through the roof right now.
True. True.
Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now, but I've just been, and that shout out to Matt Kelly. We had the Vidal McMillan thing, and then Vidal popped off in that week after 2 injuries, and then didn't do so great the week he popped off, and then he did again. You should be selling Vidal right now, by the way. Which also we liked Vidal. I was telling you, he's probably one of my, outside of him and Bucky were the guys that I liked in those rounds. So. Yeah. I think he was good. We got an opportunity. He wasn't good. The Chargers weren't that good. And now we've seen him. He's good. You should probably sell Vidal, right? I mean, that's what you should probably do with him right now. But anyway, sorry to get on my soapbox there. I will get down, but Oronde Gadsden.
I love a good soap.
Awesome.
It doesn't get any better. And the quick response to that is yes, the 3rd and 4th round picks that you've come up with the last couple of years have been absolute fire, and that is a definite edge in Dynasty. And having the patience to let them percolate is also a part of it. And then the other part of it is, and this is something that the analytics guys and anybody else out there, you can't find a piece of paper that teaches you how to calculate, process a fair trade and be able to accept it before the other guy changes their mind. Mm-hmm. And that's part of what you and I try to do in the off season, is talking through trades and stuff and trying to just be like, all right, because everybody knows when you get a smash accepted trade, and everybody knows how it feels when you send something that if the guy takes it, you almost feel bad he accepted it, right?
Yeah.
I said trade for Christian McCaffrey today. It had Luther Burden in it. Mm-hmm. Right. It's not the worst trade ever. I don't expect him to accept it, but it wasn't disrespectful. Luther Burden, draft pick, blah, 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 not a first, but trying to see where he's at because he's losing. But anyway, I feel like that's what they can get from us. It's just trying to talk people through and understanding how to figure out if the trade is close enough to make you happy enough to take it, to accept it, to get it done and move on before the guy goes, I think I'll keep him.
Yeah. And in listening to the show, regardless of how long or there's so many, and we get lost in it sometimes, is there's so many variations of Dynasty players. There's guys that just started a year or 2 ago. So we get reminded of that sometimes. And so this is what we try to kind of make it an all encompassing deal of from how long we've been playing to all the different things we've seen. And try to kind of explain it to all the different levels. So that's why sometimes when homeboys, you got a different opinion on that trade now. Not necessarily. I don't hate it necessarily, but in general, to the general public out there, we're trying to say, hey, maybe don't do that, right? Because people hear that, and then it's like, well, that's how I go get a guy. Then it's like, that could put you in a really bad position really quickly as well.
If you're completely shocked if Gadsden goes 3 for 30 for the next 2 weeks in a row, you just haven't been doing this very long.
Yeah.
Right. I just said something about all the other pass catchers on the team, and now the defensive coordinator is like, hey, this mismatched tight end over here. Because I guarantee you the last 2 weeks, the defensive guys are being like, hey, there's Quentin Johnston's tearing people up over the top, and this lad McConkey's open every single play. Now, did he let one bounce off his face mask? Yeah, that was not great. But Justin Herbert also has a fastball. And, and Keenan Allen, right? It's just definitely a 3 for 30 coming up. He got the touch. He basically, he got the touchdown. Looked good doing it. It just,
I think he had 5 for 77 in the last one. But
crushing.
Zach made a good point of like what the immediate impact of Gadsden may be is taking out some of the high ceiling of Quentin Johnston, right? That there's a good possibility of what Gadsden just brought to that team was taking out some maybe a little bit more potential from Quentin Johnston, at least maybe for parts of this year, maybe moving forward or really any of those guys. But it's a good ecosystem all of a sudden. And we talked about before we did that show, why we don't think this is a fluke and we think this is real and we like them a lot. So good on you. I hope it works out for you. I mean, that's great. And I think at the end it will work out for you. It's just more along the lines when we're saying these things, it's like, hey, generally, that's not really what I want to do in those particular instances. But that could be awesome. So I want to wrap this up on this.
Yeah, I got to run myself.
We talked a lot about contenders and you got to have the buys and we're trying to buy guys who, other people might be wanting to sell. But there also is a part of the contender part, and I wanted to bring his name up because he's an interesting player right now. There's also a luxury buy right now if you're a really, really good team, right? And you can afford to take on somebody who maybe isn't performing up to snuff. So Brian Thomas Jr. right now is not crushing, and people point to the Mac era, and right before that Mac era. Last year, Big Co was saying buy Brian Thomas, and then Matt got in there and hyper targeted him, and he blew up, and he was impossible to get. And so, is somebody like a Brian Thomas Jr. right now somebody that you should be as a contender player potentially luxury buying?
I love that angle, and I've seen a couple of players. I have a lot of leagues, and over the course of time, you figure out like that guy's good, and you show the respect. Like, I try not to say it publicly. I don't want to boost anybody, but like, all right, that guy's good. Or in this league, that guy over there is good, right? That guy's a good dynasty player. I know a good dynasty player when I see one. And buying Brian Thomas right now, moving assets around. Buy low, sell high. It's so easy to say it, but then it's hard to pinpoint and execute. Especially when the tide gets going, right? Hey, it's up here and now it's down here, and you see a couple. As soon as people start questioning effort, right? Oh, does he want to play football? Right?
The optics look odd currently.
Exactly. So, and then you get teams it's supposedly I forget what it was, some team trying Giants to trade for him, or all right. So it's just like this and that.
They say no way, but
right. So like. Yeah,
it's usually not a great sign. I feel like that usually happens after these things go.
Yeah, yeah. So I think positioning yourself to be able to do that and executing, because that was actually something I talked about last week a little bit. Maybe not even player specifically, but it was like make a trade now for somebody better, but decrease my odds of winning a championship. Well, I think we were talking about trading away Swift. Right. Mm-hmm. You and I were talking about that was the conversation that came up on our FFPC team. We have Swift. We're a good team. Hilariously, 2 weeks later, after we say that, we got, Garrett Wilson hurt on the bench. Nico Collins hurt on the bench. Puka's hurt / so you got Garrett Wilson, Puka, and Nico Collins on the bench between bye weeks and injuries alike. That's a pretty good threesome to be on the bench. Yeah, buying a Brian Thomas right now as a bully team and a really smart dynasty player might not help you win anything, but also the window to buy could be slammed shut so quickly,
right?
That these opportunities don't present themselves all the time, and the players that it take, the combination that it takes might not actually be there. But kicking the tires and trying to see if you could pull something like that off is probably, optimal.
Yeah. Do you still see him as that luxury item?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you don't act the way he acts on a football field in the positive manner, and then all of a sudden not be good at football. Who knows what's going on? Maybe those jokes we made about Trevor Lawrence and Travis Hunter were true. Maybe he's pissed off that everybody remember that Quinn Ewers and Manning picture for the all the media.
Sure.
When you know Texas is undefeated or whatever, and going to play, what top team, number one team in the country, and the starting quarterback who's got all these stats, nobody's lined up to talk to him. They don't want to go talk. They want to talk to the backup who's never even played in a game yet. Like that really happened to Manning and Ewers on Texas in college last year. Maybe Travis Hunter coming in, the Deion Sanders of 2025. We never seen anybody like him. He's the best player all around that anybody's ever seen. Brian Thomas Jr. is like, what? You know? And this is my team. I was the man. I'm the wide receiver on this team, and we go get this guy. And now he doesn't even have to be in all the meetings because he plays defense too. I don't know what's,
Right.
I don't know what.
Certainly, as silly as that sounds, that certainly can be something. And
it's got to be part of the puzzle. It might not be a big piece, but it's
and maybe he didn't like Trevor at all to begin with. Like when he came, maybe they just weren't vibing. Maybe he doesn't like Liam Cohen. Maybe the fit, and maybe they argue a lot. I have no idea. It could be absolutely nothing. All I know is there was some injury in the beginning of the season, and this was from last week or so from Scott Barrett. But I know everybody hates Trevor Lawrence currently, but like the most incompletions due to drop pass or wide receiver error per fantasy data was Trevor Lawrence at 39. 39 drops or wide receiver error. That's 37% of Trevor Lawrence's incompletions are due to drop passes or wide receiver error.
That's crazy.
And just
in second place
a large portion of that is Brian Thomas, right? I mean, I'm sure there's other guys, but like I can tell you in a few games that I've watched with him, there was he's had 6 or 8 drops.
Yeah. In second place on that list for quarterbacks with drop passes by wide receivers wasn't he? I saw the text. I don't remember.
It was 25 from Flacco.
Yeah. That's like 40% less, right? Like that's a lot. That's a huge gap.
Yeah.
So I like buying Brian Thomas.
Buy him. All right.
You can make it happen.
Catch you guys next week. Peace.
All right.